the gauges. I'm going to be running an oil pressure gauge and a boost gauge and an air-fuel ratio gauge. And I think I've got a good idea of where I want to put them. I'm just going to make a plate to go right here where the radio used to be, and it's going to have basically just 3 spots for each, one for each gauge. And I'm just going to make it real quickly out of some sheet metal. I've actually already got it. Just screw it in there just so I got the gauges ready to go, because the tuner is going to need those to be functioning. So this is the sheet metal I'm going to make the bracket out of, so should work good. Alright, so today I'm putting in the Walbro 255 fuel pump, and when Ford designed this car, they did not make a plate to give you access to your fuel pump with the tank in the car. So what you're actually supposed to do is drop the tank and put it in. I really don't feel like doing that. I would still, but more importantly, the way I'm going to do it will give me access to it in the future. So I'm just going to make my own plate. Just cut this one out and then make one to go on top of it. I saw this idea from another guy on YouTube. I don't remember his name, but it's not my idea. But there's going to be a lot of disagreement over this. A lot of guys will say that this is compromising some structural integrity in the back. That may be true. I'm not going to argue with that. I don't really know that much about how the sheet metal in the back would affect the integrity of the car. Even though I'm making another plate to bolt over it, I don't know if it's going to be good enough. I feel like it would be, but I'll tell you what, you guys let me try it, and if it ruins my car somehow, then you'll know not to do it. But I'm going to go ahead and do it. I think it's worth the risk. And yeah, so I'm going to start out. I've already got my lines marked here. I'm going to cut out this section here so I can get access to the fuel pump, and then just make a plate to go on top of it. And that's going to be it. Okay, so I got the plate cut out. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Now we've got plenty of access to the top of the fuel tank where the fuel pump goes. This, I think, was definitely worth doing. Anyways, I'm going to vacuum up all this crap because I don't want any of it falling into the fuel tank. I'll go ahead and vacuum the rest of the I guess trunk here. I don't know, but it's a hatch. The rest of the rear here, I'm going to vacuum it up just to get it clean, and I really don't need any of this crap falling in there. And then I should be able to just pop these lines off with the right tool, and then pull the bracket and replace the fuel pump. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Okay, so I got everything nice and cleaned up, and I used these disconnect tools to disconnect these fuel lines. I went ahead and marked one of each with tape, like the ones that go together. It's not really necessary, I figured out, because these are different sizes, but whatever. It'll keep me from trying to put the wrong line on the wrong size when I'm done. So now there's like a metal ring that I'm gonna use a screwdriver and a hammer to rotate like this, and should be able to get this thing out. So we got the basket fuel pump assembly, I don't know, whatever you would call that, out, and it's looking pretty simple. So I just need to swap this pickup bag onto the bottom of this guy, and then it looks to be the same size, so it should just fit right in there. And then put the plugs on the top here and connect this hose, and that should be it. So hopefully it does go that smooth. We'll see. Alright, so one problem I ran into doing this is that the stock filter on the stock fuel pump did not fit on the Walbro 255 fuel pump. Trying to get this thing off here. Alright, so that's what the intake looks like here. As you can see, the circumference is very different, so that was never going to work. And I just ran down the road to the O'Reilly's and brought them that pump, and they found me one that'll fit. It was for a bunch of random cars, not a Mustang, but this is the part number on it. Something else I like about it is that it's a lot smaller, so it's going to be easier to finagle it into the gas tank. And it's got the hole for the tab and everything. I mean it looks like it was meant to go on there. So yep, we're all set. We're gonna get that thing put back in that assembly, put that in the tank. Actually, I should probably test it. What's barking at? I'm gonna put this thing back in that assembly, plug it in and test it, and then put it back in the tank. Okay, so I threw the battery back in the front and turned the key to ignition just to hear the fuel pump run, and it does. So now I'm clear to go ahead and throw it back in the tank and call this done. But first of all, I want to unplug this just so nothing crazy happens. Can't be too careful. Alright, so after fumbling around with this for probably 10 minutes, I went and looked at some old footage and realized that the freaking filter needs to go that way. So you saw it's supposed to look. Before I had it poking over here where my pinky is. So yeah, it needs to go that way, and now it should go in just fine. Alright, so after that, everything went right in. Got the lines connected. Got the plugs plugged in and everything. So now I'm just going to make a plate to cover this spot out of just some sheet metal. And here's my plate, all put in with self-tappers. Pretty happy with it, it looks good. I am going to take it back off and paint it, and then put some like edging sealer around the edges to keep exhaust and stuff like that out, and paint it to keep it from rusting, paint it on both sides. So, but other than that, I mean, the fuel pump's done, it's ready to go. One more thing off the list. And okay, so got some parts in and got some work done. As you can see, the alternator relocation bracket came in. It looks good. I like the placement of it. Now I'm just fooling around with trying to find the right size belt. I tried one that was recommended and it was too short. Then I went up to a bigger size and it's too big. So I'm going to go back and get one that's in between. Not a big deal. And then in addition to that, a bunch of the fittings came in for the oil. So that extension there came in. I've got it RTV'd on the threads and threaded in and torqued down. And then I got all these other fittings in. So basically, this is so that I can reach everything, and this is for the sending unit for the odometer oil gauge, and then this is for the feed for the turbo. I'm not going to torque that one down yet because when I first start the car, I'm going to start it without the turbo on so that any kind of crap that may be in the engine from swapping the cam and heads and stuff can blow out the exhaust and not into the turbo. So obviously I will need to not have an oil feed, so I'm just going to put the old sending unit right there where that fitting is, just for that start. And then when I put the turbo on, I just need to put that fitting in there with some RTV and torque it down and run the oil line. Should be pretty quick, pretty simple and easy. And I also took some leftover sheet metal that I had from making the cover for the fuel pump, and I made a little gauge pod, I guess you could say, right here. Just spots for the 3 gauges, and then room over here for a switch or 2. I think I'll need switches to run the electric fans for the radiator. So yeah, I got room to mount all those, and all I did was make it where it bolts on underneath the controls here. Honestly, I probably could just take those off since I'm not running heat or AC, but for the meantime, I'm just going to do this just real quick and easy. So I'm sure I'll take it off and paint it at some point, but for now, I'm just working on getting this done, so that's going to do. And the gauges fit in there perfectly, so the one thing that I can go ahead and start doing is installing some gauges. Alright, so making some more progress on the car. I finally got the bung in for the oil drain. As you can see, I smeared a healthy amount of RTV all over it. I don't want oil leaking. Got it threaded in. It's good to go, but it needs to dry. And I'm not about to hook up the oil drain just yet anyway, so that's all set for now. And now, thanks to my assistant here, I'm getting the cold side piping all mocked up. I got this sitting the way that I'm going to want it. It shifted and the throttle body fell off. I'm just getting stuff mocked up, and these are sitting at an angle that I like. Got the cold side all mocked up. These things are sitting at an angle that I like. I'm going to have to chop some to make room for the section that's going to have demath, but that's okay. And I got the intercooler and this part of the charge pipe and everything set. So I know that the intercooler is going to sit right here. So I'm going to start making some brackets. And luckily these old mounts, I'm going to use that to make the mounts. This one's going to have to come over a little bit, but this one's almost dead on lined up. So that'll be nice and convenient. I'll make those up there, and I'll probably make some that come out from the bottom of the radiator support as well, so that it's supported from top and bottom. So